All right. Hello, everyone. This is our last session of the day. So thank you all for coming out. And I'm going to welcome, well, first of all, yeah, thank you for coming out. I want to thank all of our sponsors. So Island, St. Mary, DefLogic, Cetaxian, ISSA, CACI, and Black Hills. I'm going to introduce Jen here, who's going to be speaking on AI governance. So please help me in introducing Miss Jen here.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I know it's been a long day, and thank you for staying until the end. I promise I will try not to bore you too much. I don't have a ton of slides to cover because I want it to be conversational. I like to get through content, and then really the value is like, let's chat about what this actually means. So I'm going to start with a fun mental exercise. How many of you have AI at work? Okay, perfect. How many of you have an AI acceptable use policy? Okay, cool. How many of you know what's in that acceptable use policy? Yeah, less hands. All right, that's pretty expected. That's also a pretty good baseline. A lot of companies that I talk to don't have an acceptable use policy at all. So we're going to actually talk about building AI governance that doesn't suck. I am Jen Fite. I've got credentials or whatever, but really I think what's cool is I work in this industry. My team is responsible for AI security and risk management. So we do this day over day with people. We get called all the time, help, I need to do AI, and I'm super scared to let this wild in my company. Help me protect and secure it. So we'll walk away with a few things that you can go and implement on your own. In my prior life, I've done data governance, I've done data architecture, I've done data security, all kinds of things. Governance was always after the fact. It was very bolt-on, reactive, and so annoying, the engineers didn't want to do it, so they didn't do it. And actually, I think a lot of the problems we have with AI today are because we ignored the foundations. We didn't do data governance, we didn't do data management, we sure as heck did not do data security. So we're seeing that about AI is excelling faster. Governance, legal, all those things are always lagging compared to industry trends. AI is knocking that out of the water. It's excelling and at such a rapid pace that I was just saying, like, I don't even try to keep up with it anymore. I'm tired of AI. I can't wait for the bubble to pop and people realize they're not getting the value out of it anymore. So it's just like another use of data. But until then, like, you know, I've got to kind of care about it because it's what I do for work. But it's excelling so fast that it's really hard to stay on top of, to govern, to manage, to understand what's going on, which creates the problem space. Having basics like an acceptable use policy. What can I do with AI at work? What can't I do with AI at work? A lot of people don't even have that. They don't even have a formal AI security policy. How many have an AI security policy? Less hands than the acceptable use policy, because that's letting people be accountable and productive with AI. Less of, I want to stop you from doing cool things with AI. From an AI security standpoint, how many of that's embedded in the development in the AI model lifecycle? Nice. Where do you work? Okay, cool. You're killing it. There's like a couple people. AI security is still lagging in the industry. It's kind of duct taped around a lot of things. Secure by design embedded in the model development lifecycle, we're going to talk about how to do that governance as well, is really what keeps you secure regardless of something new or a new threat actor, a new attack vector coming through, because it's embedded within the flow. Red team your models? Yeah, of course. Anybody else? Do you know if you have red teaming for your AI models? That makes sense too, as it should. A lot of people don't. Most companies, no money's allocated to actually adversarial testing and penetration testing against the models. It's just an afterthought. So the old way, obviously we talked about security bolted on after the fact. It's too late, the risk is there, it's already developed, and there's exposure. One-time audits, it's not continuous. It's a check box for a point in time, but we're not continuously monitoring and continuously observing and continuously updating to make sure that the new thing that comes out tomorrow that I see 18 people post about it on LinkedIn isn't somehow affecting my day-to-day job. So we want to make sure that governance is embedded in the AI lifecycle. That way we don't forget about it. It's continuous, it's auditable, and it's provable every single time throughout every single step. Then we can build a framework that helps with speed and accuracy. The one thing we don't want to stop the business from doing is being super smart and productive. But we have to have the bubble wrap around them so they don't mess everything up. And we partner with them to help them do that. Okay. Are a lot of these familiar for people who know AI, security, and risks? We're really protecting against prompt injection, model poisoning, jailbreaking, not just old iPhone type of vibe, but jailbreaking the model to get it to do something different. Data extraction, huge. Supply chain risk, we saw this 3x over the last year on where supply chain risk has increased substantially because of your party to the nth degree and whatever random AI they're using infiltrates upstream through all your SaaS products. Content exploits. I have people who send me all kinds of fun stuff. Somebody recently sent me an article on LinkedIn where for malware protection, you do vuln scans, and the models are trained to ignore like bioweapon warfare type verbiage. So now these malware people are coding into their prompt injections specific things about bioweapon and warfare. That way the malware scans skip over it because the model's trained to stop reading, and then it's passing inspection now. That's so creative, but like, what the heck? So, you have to be cognizant of these types of risks coming out pretty much daily at this point. So here's the AI governance lifecycle. If you're, how many people use AI out of the box, like Copilot, Cowork, Copilot Studio, Claude Cowork, anything like that? Okay, and then how many of you guys are building it in-house in your organization? Okay, how many of you don't have like broad AI adoption yet at your company? Okay, that makes sense. So when you're doing AI, there's usually a life cycle outside of me just using Copilot because I have it attached to my M365 E5 licensing and it's in my Teams thing. You're going to design the model, and up front in the design stage, you want to make sure that you're threat modeling up front and you have clear deterministic outcomes and hypothesis that you can meet with the model, and then that you have attack vectors and attack paths that you can test against that model to make sure that it's secure. You always want to have data classification. This should be part of your intake process. Whenever you're going like risk registry, model inventory, those types of things from an AI governance standpoint are pretty much day one. I'm also a big advocate for having clear business value determined upfront at model intake. Is this going to save the company time? Is this going to save money? Are we just doing AI to do AI? This is work. Stop playing at work. Do something valuable for the company because it's expensive. Or maybe you don't get to develop that model. Having the data classification should be a non-negotiable, because then that either says you should be doing this with the model, or maybe you don't, but it also assigns the risk associated with that model. I like to say no sensitive data should make it into a model. Some people like to argue with me about that. Either way, there's risk associated with the classification level that you have in the model, and knowing upfront helps you understand what guardrails, guidelines, and measures need to follow the model throughout the remainder of its life cycle and its processes. A high-risk model using extremely sensitive data needs to have more protection, more control, more visibility than something that's public information I'm not making business decisions off of. This is just informative. That can have less rigor. Use case risk rating. I'm going to save the money I'm going to save the company millions of dollars, and I'm going to save people hours. Fantastic. I'm not using any customer or sensitive information, very low risk. Let that model go. Something more high risk, not necessarily deemed as immediately valuable. assign the associated risks so you know what to do with it later. Then in the build phase, this is the fun part, right? We get to do stuff now. Secure the training data. I don't think you should just have training data everywhere. Your training data should be treated like test data. It should be distinctly separate, and you want to secure it because that influences the model's behaviors and the outcomes of the model. So you don't want to have that data in an unprotected environment, because if somebody poisons the data, then that's going to change the outcome of the model and give you bad answers, and you're going to make wrong decisions. So having that secure, just as secure as if it were a production environment, is super important when it comes to training your model. The supply chain audit, super important. What tools are you using? What tools are they dependent on? Is there anything else to the nth degree that falls within that supply chain that could impact how that model is going to operate and perform, or the associated risk with the model? So make sure that you understand all the chains of events, of interactions that happen. That way you can secure it or make the business decision that the risk is low enough to accept and to move forward with development. Adversarial testing, super fun. You can't just throw a model out there and expect it to do what it's going to do. Test and adversarially test the model to make sure that it can operate within its defined parameters and give you the expected outcomes and test the hypothesis appropriately. We'll just put a period on that sentence. Deploy, input and output validation. What you put into the model and then what you get out of the model are expected. And if anything deviates outside of your thresholds or your predetermined parameters, make sure that you retest and figure out what happened. If it's within the expected thresholds, that's probably okay, and you can continue with the model. It's not going to deviate too much from the intended outcome of the model. But if it exceeds a threshold, then there's something wrong. Data, there's something wrong. Go back and run it. That went awry. Make sure you're still getting the outcomes. If I'm making a business decision on a model, it's a financial thing, it's a risk thing, it's a regulatory thing, it's a security thing. You want to make sure that it's always meeting its intended hypothesis and not adding more risk by using it. Rate limiting, that's just a common attack path. When it's using and calling APIs, you want to make sure that there's still rate limiting. It doesn't have ungoverned access to the specific resources, because that's something that can be hijacked and taken over, and that can spin up, cloud and resource costs that your company would eventually be responsible for. Access controls. Quick question. How many people get asked from the data scientist, I want to have access to all the data. I need all the data to do this thing, to go be smart. Hands down me every time. Yeah. And I have to say no. There's specific data you need to test your hypothesis against for this model. Let's start there. And then we argue a lot. And they just want unfettered access. So access controls are super important. The people who are developing the model with the data should have that specific access. RBAC, or even down to like ABAC or PBAC, I think are a little bit more appropriate as we get into like specific nuances of AI and then agentic AI. Those are going to require different access models to persist throughout to help maintain the integrity of what the model's supposed to be doing, what it's supposed to be accessing, and who's supposed to be interacting with those specific steps throughout the life cycle. Is anybody lost yet? Sorry, I talk a lot about like the development of AI, and you guys probably don't do that yet. Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, let's do it.
So where do you think establishing accountability should go?
Design.
So I mean, what if there's like, we're talking about your designs there, but it's going to come out like, so establishing accountability should draw policies at the same time as data classification.
Yes, exactly. And like, whose head's on the line if this thing goes wonky and we make a bad decision? Accountability. Like, you have to swear up and down this thing's going to be right, and I'm going to run this up to the board, or we're all in trouble type of accountability as well. Cool, awesome, okay. And please feel free to ask questions as we go. I'm not like uptight about it. I want to talk to you all. That's my favorite part. Okay, during monitoring of the model, anomaly detection, we kind of have an expectation now that we've built and tested the model what that should look like. So understanding any kind of anomalies, feeding all the model telemetry to the sim and to the SOAR. I feel like people were pressed, especially at work, to go fast, and they forgot all the basics. Are you eventing your logs from the model to the sim? Probably not. So that means we're missing key telemetry things to understand behavioral patterns, associated risks, and have true incident response tied to some kind of model thing. Do you guys have incident response plans for your AI models and for your agentic frameworks? Right, that's a big miss. We need to understand, how do we handle these situations? How do we react when specific models give us something weird, when it creates customer harm or introduces associated risk, or heaven forbid, data exfiltration because the model went crazy? So we have to know how to respond through an incident response plan. We have to know what's going on when we have anomaly detection to show, hey, something's crazy, we need to focus on it. Prompt logging. We want to log our prompts. Some of that is just like good hygiene. What are they asking? What are we telling the AI to do? Some of it is detecting threat behaviors. If we're saying, do this with this, and we don't know about it, then it's hard to go back when something goes wrong and understand the full analysis of the event chain if we're not logging the prompts, because maybe the model was intended to do this, but it was prompted to do something different. We're going to miss a key gap in the investigative process to figure out somebody made it do that instead of the model went crazy. Drift alerting. This is setting the thresholds on models should be answering in this way this amount of times, threshold a little bit above, a little bit below. If it starts to drift, is that a model problem? Is it a data problem? What happened? And then alerting on the fact that it's exceeding one of the thresholds allocated to it, so you can go back and reinvestigate the process to keep it within its defined parameters. Yes?
Are there any organizations doing stuff for my organization?
Yeah. Correct. You're absolutely right. Almost everybody isn't doing 4 and 5. I'm lucky if they're doing 1, 2, and 3. Like holistically. A lot of people are like, I did all this AI. I said, okay, what's the business value? Like, we don't know yet. Like, crazy, okay. Is it in production? Like, not yet. They don't trust it. Like, oh, I wonder why. Yes.
Who's responsible for the drift? Like, I know we're using it where we have to build like our own models and stuff, but it drifts, and then I'm just like, screw this, I'll go to my personal file.
The drift alerting, that should be part of our standard security operations process, to where it surfaces within the telemetry and the drift alert, but then the SOC will send it back to the model owner or the model developer to say, hey, there's something wrong with your model, we need to redevelop or figure out what's going on. So I still think it needs to go within the standard telemetry flow, and that's just another report that comes out of the SOAR from the SIM. But it's the business process is involving the model developer or the model owner to help alert and fix it. Correct. Yep. Yeah.
From your experience with customers, what's the biggest reason they may skip 1 through 3? Is it fear of being left behind? Because it seems a lot of my friends who work in a bunch of different areas, their companies are pushing down on them. Some of them have like monthly projects that they have to present about how they've used AI. So
and it's a metric.
Here it is to prove that it's useful to the company in that situation.
Yeah.
So what is the reason you see companies usually skip 1 through 3? Is it lack of knowledge or fear?
I think it's fear of being left behind. There have been some companies where they said this is the next .com boom. If we don't jump on it now, we're hosed, we're out of business. And that forces people to go fast and not go fast and right. And then I think it's lack of knowledge, thinking that a lot of people think AI is like crazy and new, but we've had machine learning, we had statistical analysis and scientific functions for so long. Now it's just very like codified in machines with exponential processing power built behind it. Like if you strip it down to what AI actually is, it's fancy math, and all my AI friends hate when I say it, but it is. they think it's a black box of crazy magic, and that because it's this black box of crazy magic, obviously it can't follow standard security policies. This needs to be special and leave me alone because I was told I have to do it. Anybody experience that at their companies? Because me too. Yes.
Typically, how many people do you use to develop this framework and organization?
Yeah, this depends on how big is the organization and how big are like their data scientist community. But if this process is really embedded in the flow, this is more of a framework that a lot of people can develop and build based upon these specific check marks in their model development lifecycle. And then you have the governance folks that can help provide oversight and sanity check, as long as everything's also pushing down into the telemetry to surface up through security alerting. So this should be partnership with the people who are already building it and developing it today. Not they go do it and then here I am following them, because then you're late. But what I found success with is sitting down with my engineers and saying, what if, I know all this stuff sucks, like what if we made it easier and you thought about it throughout your life cycle, not I'm gonna come to you after you do it all and you have to do it again anyway. And they've been very receptive and it's been successful. So it limits, I guess, extra staff if you kind of influence it back to the people who are doing it and developing it. They're also doing this kind of work. Then you don't have to hire like big oversight teams that kind of stall progress anyway. Cool. Okay, retire. How many of you all are good at data lifecycle management? Data hits its retention, you get rid of it. Yeah, most people don't do that. It's expensive, it's risky. Yeah, government. I know from the last session, you have to. A lot of other organizations just won't do it. They'll hoard data forever. They don't understand the associated risk and the cost with the risk, but they're afraid, what if I need it later? But stale data is irrelevant. Stale data, old data, makes your models say stupid things because it's trained on old data that maybe isn't relevant anymore. So you want to delete it from like a model efficacy standpoint anyway. When your model's ready to be put to pasture and you retire it, delete the data and let's get it out of there. Decommission the model. If we're not using the outcomes of the model anymore, it's no longer addressing business needs. It's not going to the board for this cool report. It's not helping security be more efficient. Decommission the model as well. Just leaving it there like an old dashboard, incredibly risky.
Failure to remove the model will cost hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Because things become illegal that were not legal in.
Exactly.
They could be subject to discovery or statute of limitations.
See?
Criminal thing. So you have you got your right to
yeah.
Regulated is the discovery of the next.
Yeah.
Everybody who did this stuff, and they actually use this regulation.
Yeah.
Say, for instance, they go on and you stand, if I see them, you'll see the
heightened level of maturity. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's somebody engaged in activity is bad enough to affect.
Even as like AI progresses, the regulatory requirements are catching up, but we're seeing privacy also augment to accommodate a lot of the AI things like automated decision-making technologies. For example, it's a new CPRA requirement. So same thing, say I have decision-making technology that's a key business process for me. It's a hiring process or it's an insurance determination process. And I had that without notification from a privacy standpoint, then this new privacy regulation comes into play. I forgot about this model, then you're also, subject to additional regulatory scrutiny as well.
You screw up, even though you're supposed to charge is or it still exists.
Yep.
Your systems, so it's not there. Let's grab all your systems and all your data.
Yeah. Discovery is no fun for anybody.
It's not.
I love it. Audit trail closure, to your point. How do we know it's not there anymore? Let's make sure that there's an audit trail. We can show and prove out. So like deterministically, I'm tired, you're tired, that word's hard. Without a doubt, you can make sure that I can prove that that thing's no longer there, that you can't find it anymore. I did everything I needed to do to de-hook it from my environment, remove all the tentacles, and purge and delete. So the audit trail is super duper important. So these are actually not just checkbox controls. These are specific controls that we can embed into every stage of our model development process. Killing it. Okay, what does embedded actually mean? Here's some key things and some key people, because a lot of people always ask me, yeah, you tell me to do all this stuff, but who is supposed to do it? Who's supposed to help me do it? So I think these are key people to have for each one of these phases. Security and AI leads at the design stage. That's going to be very important to have them both at the table, because you can keep your AI folks in check. If there's if there's a responsible parent in the room, then the data scientists don't go crazy. But also, the data scientists can help explain what they're trying to do, so security is not a blanket no either. Run a threat model session before you can even select the appropriate model. Do your companies have, especially those that build versus buy, do you have a list of accepted models that you can use at your company, or is it also kind of willy-nilly? Yeah. Exactly.
Just questions. Well, first of all, they're personal.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking questions.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. You get it. So make sure that the selected model, the available models that you can use, you run a threat modeling session up front so you know how that model is going to, is it Bedrock, is it Gemini, is it, one of the many Anthropic models within your parameters of what's allowed at your company. Make sure that that model performs appropriately for your intended use case and your desired outcomes. Has anybody played with like Opus versus Sonnet and seen that like Opus is like, hey, I'm so verbose, it's crazy. And like Sonnet's like, here's a 1-sentence answer. That's important to check before you go develop your whole business process around those specific models. Make sure that the output, you're going to put everything into the risk register that is associated with your model inventory and your intake process up front. Have the aligned data classification and make sure that the use case is approved. Do you all have approval processes for your use cases through like a governance framework like this? Loosely? Is there like clear go, no go? You can do it or you can't do it? Okay. So that's at least good. I think the value is a specific use case going to deliver X value, reduce X amount of hours, or has a specifically intended business outcome and that's approved for that reason? I think that's incredibly powerful to have at a company. I feel like companies are still in the development phase and a lot of their models aren't in production for some of these reasons. It's not showing the value. We did AI to do AI, but I haven't seen the benefits of it. I'm not saving money. I'm not reducing people hours. It's actually more expensive and we don't know what the heck we're doing with it yet. And now there's these security risks I'm concerned about. So having quick and tight alignment on approved use cases, I think is going to help us move from playing with AI to actually using AI effectively. Build, who do we care about in the build phase? The model, engineer, and AppSec. Why? They're building it. So you kind of need an application security lens on the model development because you're basically building like a super smart mini app in your environment. So make sure that the CI/CD pipelines are gated. Has anybody gated their CI/CD pipelines yet? Probably not. Okay, cool. To make sure that the adversarial test pass rates, then it can let the change go through for the pipeline. It's a good way to create kind of like a point of friction to make sure that there is specific parameters that are developed around the model before it can go from test into production. And it's not, I guess, increasing or adding additional risk. Audit the training data provenance. Make sure that the training data is where it's supposed to come from. It is what it's supposed to be before you let it go into production. That just makes sure that all your tested hypotheses maintain true when you go into move it into like a production-ready environment. Scan the models before they import. there was like, what was it, Lite LLM, the aggregator? There was that whole security issue. So we just need to make sure that like any vulns that are within the model are scanned and managed before actually allowing the model to move into production as well. Okay, deploy, make sure input-output filtering at the API, yes.
So how do you see folks approaching security problems that are not solved? So in the case of like web search, RAG, document search, because one of the challenges I've seen with our customers who also look at my own is very much it's a garbage in, garbage out situation.
Mm-hmm.
And there doesn't seem to be any standard mechanism that exists to do any sort of like attestation or provenance verification of quality of the data you're feeding into the model in context.
Yeah.
But also models inherently can't tell the difference between data and instructions.
Yep.
So it doesn't seem like there's any good way to filter out the problem.
Some of that is creating like boundaries and specific ecosystems where that data should exist. And this is kind of backing into like a data governance and a data management upfront that's spilling over into the AI problem. If we have a specific environment, like a lot of people are doing semantic layers, for example, where it's servicing up trusted, singular, golden source of truth data that the model can and cannot read off of, then that's a surefire way to say, I'm only accessing data from this specific layer or this specific environment that's trusted, it's fresh, it's got data quality, there's metadata around it and context around the data to help the model understand what the data should be, not just what the data looks like and can be interpreted as. Then that helps create a more accurate foundation for the training data that can move into like accurate production data. I think if the model is just looking at data everywhere across the ecosystem, we're always going to have those issues with the provenance, but also like the freshness of the data, the quality of the data, and the context around the data are going to be disparate across each instantiation.
That's exactly the problem that there is almost real investment in the government prior to.
And data security, everybody's like, we'll do data security later, and it's like, guess what? It's later. We got to do data security. Yeah, I see that all the time, and it really is like if we back to AI readiness conversations, but it's like your data's not ready for anything actually. Like let's focus on data readiness, and then in consumption of data, you should be okay with additional like some nuanced security measures that you need to be thinking about. But some of these are basic standards that a lot of people just either thought don't apply because AI is magic, or they never did any of this stuff right in the first place. It's just now we're seeing it faster. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, monitoring, so making sure that it's SecOps and ML ops as well. I don't know if a lot of people have like ML ops types of groups, but usually, yeah, I see mixed. Some people do, some people don't. That's really taking like your engineers, but having like an operational, who's gonna get called at 3 a.m.? You know? Yeah. So we need like an operational support system for the model. It's not just like a Tableau dashboard that can be stale for 3 days and nobody cares. There needs to be a specific like response mechanism to help keep that relevant. So SecOps and ML ops, log all the prompts and completions. Make sure it's obviously redacted, anything sensitive. It's not just all out there, but you want to make sure that you have that logged and available for investigation and security purposes. And then make sure that there's alerting on the output anomalies and any usage spikes. Output anomalies are, it should say this and out saying, something super crazy, like go play in traffic. I think that making sure that the usage spikes are also monitored and you're aware of it. It could be somebody gained access into the environment and was spinning up your usage. It could be the model is getting crazy. There's all kinds of things that just the CPU usage spike can be also an indicator of compromise. Just like in any other cloud or other environment, a usage spike usually means an active threat. So monitoring usage spikes with your models, I think, is important as well. And then making sure that we review the drift at least monthly. Okay, document, decommission, define the retention policy and fine tune it, and then close out the audit trail and archive even the associated threat model for that specific model that you started up at front. Like, get rid of it all as soon as you're ready to decommission the model itself. Okay. What could you be doing? For example, weekly, you could be doing automated prompt injection scans. Those are some tools you can do those with. Output anomaly review from the production logs, and looking for any new jailbreaking techniques, and then triaging accordingly. That's good hygiene. Then per release is where we would just want to focus on adversarial testing and changed endpoints, training data provenance recheck, make sure it's still the same. Anytime you release and re-release, we'll just go back and check to make sure that's good. And then regression on prior findings. Did they regress, or is everything staying the same? What's the status there? Just on the release schedule. And I think quarterly, this is where we get a little bit more proactive and theoretical. But you can do human red team exercises with dedicated sessions every quarter and just have a list of associated models, run through them, make sure they're still good. Then threat model refresh. Has anything new come out? Because the answer is going to be yes. Until like 3 years from now, probably. There's always going to be something new. We should always refresh that to make sure that we're protected as much as possible. And then a governance policy review, and then making sure that the versioning is aligned. This is pretty frequent from a policy review standpoint. Most policy manual is a pretty standard requirement. I think until AI slows the heck down, probably review those pretty consistently until the environment chills out a little bit. I think annuals it's too much time in between each policy to actually stay on top of everything. These are tools on the bottom if you care about tooling. Okay, so just got to go into data security real quick. Free AI. Anybody use free AI? Are you guys using it at work? The cost is always your data. We'll start there. Training, opt-in by default. They're going to train their models on your data unless you opt out. You have to go into your settings. Everybody go into your settings, opt out. Do it right now if you haven't done it. And make sure that's not on. Third-party data routing, no enterprise protections, especially if we're looking at free tier AI in a corporate environment. Hopefully your network and security folks are blocking anything out on the internet, but like some companies are smaller and they have less control and they don't do that. So they just I can go to ChatGPT and do whatever I want on my work computer. Not super cool. There's a problem with that. Shadow AI is already everywhere. How many of you all have shadow AI detection capabilities? Tooling?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, usually you have to do it with tool one way or another. Yeah, smart. There's like publicly available software suites. There's like a lot of different flavors of security tooling that can show you if there's anticipated AI usage in your environment through either like data interactions or at the URL or at the gateway or at the network, you can name it. Some tools deploy in like 5 of those different layers for validation, but also like security reasons. Anyway, so everybody has shadow AI, I guarantee it. It's whether you know about it or not is the important thing. Indefinite log retention. This is another data problem. You don't want to keep those forever either. Because there could be confidential information in there. So with a public one, it's forever, and then it could have sensitive information. If you're not good with your practices on using public AI, you're probably just chatting away with it, not understanding the risk. If it's work stuff, then it's going to have your work stuff stored in the logs, and then you don't really know where everything's routing through. Cool. Okay, so governance that travels across teams. Does everyone want to take a picture? I don't want to be in it. Policy is code. What does that mean? made machine readable, and I coded into my model. I see this going two ways. I think this is super valuable because it's taking your standard governance requirements and it's putting it into the model to have it operate within those parameters in a codified way. If it's too heavy and you have a lot of governance control and it's codified in the model, then there could be latency and model performance issues. You can create an abstraction layer, call it a policy layer. It's like reference data where your model knows when I get to this point, call out to the policy abstraction layer, check policy that's codified as well and machine readable. Go on to my next step in the model is 2 different ways to do it. I know you guys are all going to go out and build that tomorrow, so you're welcome. Yes.
Something we've done is build skills.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Diversify policies within our enterprise account and within all our models, so that every query triggers those skills.
Yeah, that's smart.
We cannot turn off skill.
Yeah, and they can't say ignore previous whatever because it's do you have it as like an abstracted reference layer that it calls back to? Yeah, because that helps with like latency and model performance if you remove that, but also it helps with avoiding like specific commands to ignore. Nice, good job. Okay, so store governance, 5 minutes. Oh, dang, I thought it was going to be fast, guys. Okay, governance policies to specific model versions. Make sure that the policy and the model versions match. Make sure that you have a lot of socialization with any kind of changes so people know what's going on. Portable controls. You want to make sure that they're defined not by the model, but that they can be used in a more broader sense, and that you have input-output validators that can be reused. It's not so specific that it's like a lot of lift to get done. And then you guys can read the rest. Governance registry, central registry of all AI models in production. Everybody has all their AI models ever registered in one place. Right? Yeah, everybody's got it. Good job. Each model has an owner, a risk tier, and the controls. Okay, nice. Expiry dates on the approvals. Yeah, I feel like these things should be reapproved, right? Like I thought that was a good idea, and then maybe it's not a good idea, but you should ask me again, and then I'll tell you. Expiry dates just make sure that it's still relevant to the business, it's still achieving the desired outcomes, and it still aligns with the business strategy. And then single pane of glass for compliance reporting. Nobody has that, so good luck. Just kidding. Sweet. Okay, so we'll take a picture of this. What can we do to start implementing this? This week, we can do a couple things. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Then maybe this quarter, let's expand that and do a little bit better. Good? Awesome? Okay. Questions on this one? No? Rad. Okay, 5 things to remember. AI is infrastructure. Probably govern it and treat it like so. Most people aren't. It's not a SaaS subscription. You're literally building machines to do things for you. So treat it accordingly. Embed the controls in every stage of the life cycle. Doing this after the fact is terrible. It's such a bad experience. It's expensive, and everybody hates you. So if you just help influence them doing it as they develop and as they build, it now just becomes their new norm. This is how they do things. Then you don't make so many people angry either. Red team, red team, red team. Make sure you have defined cadence. There's specific outcomes that you're doing. Make the governance portable through these specific things, and then start this week, start as soon as possible. Even if it's just an inventory of your AI tools, figuring out the associated risk and what it's supposed to be doing and did somebody approve it is going to get you 10 steps further than a lot of people are right now. Boom. Okay, any additional questions? Frameworks. The other one I don't have up here because it's very much agentic focus, but it's Maestro. That's more agentic from a framework standpoint. Also, there is the CSA AI Controls Matrix. It used to just be Cloud Security Alliance Cloud Controls Matrix, but they updated to append specific AI controls. That's a really, really robust book of knowledge. If you don't know what the heck to do from a control standpoint, go download that bad boy and then look through it. It has implementation guidelines. It has like audit questions that you can ask to see if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that could get you to a pretty good state for free. Ask people for help if you don't know what you're doing from there. Cool. Questions? Yes.
Shameless plug. We'll save.
Yes.
CIS also released some AI.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Good job.
Yeah,
Shameless plug from the Googler in the room. Any other questions? No? Are you guys all super stoked to go do AI governance now? Yay! Cool.
I'm going to say thank you. And back in the UC, there is